Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. 56 wins in a row, like the number of Ks in a good modem from the year 1998. Okay, you love to see it. A bad spacebar item, Curse of the Unknown, JV2TDDJD, and the Tower card. So a lot of good stuff there. Let's be honest though. Do we have no HP? We don't know. What do we have going for us? Incredible stuff. Incredible stuff. What do we have going? Excuse me! Well, we have a Spirit Heart now. So we maximum lost 1 HP and got a Spirit Heart. What do we have going for us? Incredible stats. Now, I hate to say it, because I thought that was a very smart play that sadly just didn't go right. But that was close. We could have died on that tower play, and that would have been just a nasty way to go. I'm very glad we didn't find ourselves in that situation. We did gain something out of it. So for one, we gained a Spirit Heart. If we traded an empty... Oh, we did! If we traded an empty red heart for that Spirit Heart, that's an A+ trade that we would do any day of the week to begin with. But we also gained information, which I don't want to say that it was still the right thing to do. We could have played it a little smarter for sure. But the information we gained was important. If we got hit by a bomb, lived, and picked up a Spirit Heart, we know that we have more than 1 HP, which means we can't die in one hit. Oh my god. Is Polyphemus. You love to see it. I mean, I like actually love to see it. I'm stoked. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm pretty stoked. This is pretty good. Okay. So it's still, it's a Friday over here. It's around 5 p.m. Quitting time. But I don't keep normal hours. I'm not saying that to be like, oh, be sympathetic to me. I'm working after 5 p.m. It's really rather like, you know, working after 5 p.m. is pretty standard when you start your workday at like 10:30. I'm excited to do some more recording here. Energy levels are good. Throat is a little parched, but otherwise A-okay. And Latchkey's going to help us out too. Oh, we have tons of HP. Now, tomorrow is my day off. What are we going to do? Honestly, I have no idea. Some variation of staying inside, and I think also we might try to start up a little garden sort of thing. Like a lot of, you know, people that are stuck inside. Trying to get some, like, domestic hobbies going on right now. A lot of people have been baking. That's a good one. You only need to go to the grocery store to get baking stuff and then, you know, learn how to make some breads. Plus, it's delicious. I've been a real detractor of making your own bread on stream, but not because the bread is hard to make or because it's not delicious. Honestly, one of the reasons is my dad, when I was a teenager, got into baking his own bread, and the bread was always amazing. Don't get me wrong. But I've assisted in making it so much that I'm like, this is one of those things where I'm like, for me, specifically for me, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. I know it's easy, but I derive no pleasure from the act of bread making. If you do, or you think you would, I would definitely encourage you to try it, because the bread you make when you make your own bread is going to be better than, maybe not any store-bought bread, but like 99% of them, for sure. But for me, I'm like, would I rather eat homemade bread or like crappy sliced bread from the supermarket? I'm just gonna say it. I'd rather eat the crappy sliced bread from the supermarket than spend the, you know, X amount of time to bake it myself. However, what I would really do instead is drastically overpay for home style loaves from real bakeries and support a local business instead. See how I flip that around on you? Instead of being lazy by not cooking my own bread, now I'm supporting local businesses. Meanwhile, you're not doing anything to stimulate the economy, you jerk. What, do you hate small businesses? Anyway, that's too far. We do not need Headless, baby. Oh, dude, one of these might be a library then. Let's see. It's always nice to take a little peek before we leave and try to make sure we're doing the small stuff right. Yeah, I think we're okay on this. I don't want to use too many bombs to look for a secret room that could be in a lot of different locations. You know, I will use it here. Just don't push it too much. Thank you. Definitely worth it. So you should be the shop, I think. And you should be the library, if you are a library. Yo, okay. So, we already have a book. In my personal opinion, do we want to get the other books? I'm gonna do it, and I'll tell you why. Okay. Apparently the reason why is because I don't care about keys at all. No, the reason why is, I think, and it's minor, don't get me wrong, I think by picking up all of the books, we might create a situation whereby they can never show up in the deal with the devil again. But this is very, very similar to our last run. Just to be straight up, we have great stats. We lived through the only period on this run that would seem to make it difficult, which is, you know, that Curse of the Unknown at the very start. And now we've got an incredible assortment of items. You know, we're chunking it up, but that's great. But yeah, Kate wants to garden. It's not like I want to garden. Kate wants to garden, and I've always been one of those guys. I kind of like manual labor. I have the privilege to like manual labor because I don't have to do it for my actual life. I'm sure, you know, if you're watching this, you should know, by the way, I have nothing but respect for the blue-collar worker. I know I play the part of a well-socialized urban intellectual or whatever, but I grew up in a more rural area. My grandfather was he was just a jack-of-all-trades contractor, and also later in life became a taxi driver. And he made my dad and my dad's brother, aka my uncle, you know, work on the family business, hanging drywall and stuff like that, which I'm sure is why, you know, my dad, even to this day, even though he works hard at, like, his real job, on the weekends, he's like, you know what's my idea of a good time? Let's redo all the crown molding in the basement. You want to help? No? Okay, that's fine. I wish I did. I wish I did do more of that. But as a child, you know, I was like, would I rather play a video game or gain a real-life skill and bond with my father? It's okay. He'll be around forever. As an adult, I'm like, man, I'm an idiot. By the way, he is still alive. Hello, Dad. If you're listening, I wish I'd helped out more, but you know, there's still time to make amends for that as an adult. We'll take this. But anyway, I got nothing but respect for the blue collar worker. In fact, it's almost like I take it a little bit too far, I would say. Like whenever sometimes we'll have, like, you know, we got new light fixtures. When we moved in, so we had an electrician come over. I was just like in awe of this guy the whole time. I was like, what do you do? Those are like magic. You got magic strings that go into the ceiling, and then I press a button, and the sun turns on? You're the wizard. This is incredible. But I definitely do also think that part of the reason that I'm like, you know, mindless manual labor is, appeals to me is honestly because of the fact that, you know, I don't have to do it every day and maybe get a little sick of it. But I don't know if that's true. I feel like people who, so that's very likely to be two of clubs because of the way that this is set up. You tend to get the same playing cards over and over. And if you don't believe me, just ask Sinvicta. He told me that one. But I feel like, you know, when I talk to somebody that does a blue-collar job, they're usually very proud of their work. I think it's easy to be proud of yourself when your job is like... I hope that doesn't sound dismissive. I think it's easy to feel fulfilled when you're, you know... No, it's more like, you know, I think it's easy to have a sense of pride in your work when you're like, I make tables. Check out this table I made. Today, I made 1.3 tables. You know? Instead of like... You know, when I worked my summer jobs in university, I was like, I don't know, I I did my part on like 4 files today. And like, yeah, it's like an important part of the files, but I didn't really like do any. Mostly I just clicked like 8 buttons, and at the end, you know, when I come back to work tomorrow, it's gonna be like almost like nothing ever happened. There's just gonna be new files to work on. You know what I mean? But as I'm doing it, the boss, who by the way only shows up once or twice a year because the rest of the time he's on vacation, is like, you know, his bottom line is growing quite greatly, so I'm honestly happy to do him that service. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to get radical on you, chat. But yeah, we might start doing some gardening. I do have a question though about gardening. Like, here's how much of a city dweller I am. And I have mentioned, you know, of course, I grew up in the country. I never thought of this stuff when I grew up in the country. But, like, in the city, this is going to seem like a real knock against Vancouver. And in some ways it is. But, like, if you garden, and you, like, leave stuff outside or in, like, a community garden, won't people, like, don't they just come by and, like, mess with it sometimes? I'm not saying a high percentage of individuals would be so sociopathic as to do that. Rather, I think what I'm saying is there's like a 0.02% of the population that's like, hey, there's something outside, I'm gonna mess with it. And they're the ones messing it up for absolutely everybody else out there. I mean, I don't even need to ask the question. I'm sure the answer to the question is yes. You know, sometimes people will come to the community garden and just trash it, and you just sort of live with it, I guess. That's a bummer. Can you throw him in jail forever? We might as well re-roll everything to get the money here. Can you throw him in jail and lock him up, throw away the key? No? Alright. Time to run for office. So we'll see how that works out. Apart from that, pretty low key. Maybe do a little bit of cooking. How does that strike you? Strikes you just fine? Glad to hear it. I'm making a bit of an exciting play here. We're going to take Jar of Flies because a couple of reasons. The first one is we no longer need Book of Revelations as much because we already have Dark Bum. We picked it up on this floor. The second reason is our flies are going to do a ton of damage because we have Polyphemus. So I think it's kind of it's a good opportunity to lean into that slightly. And maybe make this run a little bit less than our last one. But I gotta tell you, it's like, you know in the song Red Barchetta, where like it starts with my uncle has a country place that no one knows about. And it's like a little bit gentle and wistful and almost like melancholic. And then the middle 2 verses are like, run through the ground as the turbo slows across the borderline. Run like the wind. You know, it gets a little bit more dramatic, but then at the end it's like, at the one-way bridge I leave the giants stranded at the riverside, and then Neil Peart, God rest him, goes, and then Geddy Lee goes, race back to the farm to dream with my uncle at the fireside, and then Neil Peart goes, anyway, it's like that. We had the middle 2 verses of that song was the 2-parter episode where I got the adventure I had so longed for in Isaac. And the last few episodes since then have been the final verse, where he gets back to relative comfort and the boredom from which he originally wished to escape. He now has a new appreciation for it because it's not boredom. He recognizes that it's comfort. And I think there's something, you know, relatable and human in that. We had strife, and to be honest, if you had asked me before that 2-part episode, which is 1 day ago for me, but like almost a week ago for you now, so you're probably like, oh my god, shut up, it was ages ago. I would probably have said like, yeah, the streak is like, you know, 55 wins or 52 wins or whatever, but it hasn't really been that much of a challenge so far. What I would have asked for is a challenge. I got a challenge, and now I'm like, thank God that's over with. Just give me as much smooth sailing as you can handle, please, sir. It's a nice rate of fire increase that, to be honest, we could really use because obviously Polyphemus put a real damper on things. Well, no. It made the run substantially better, but it specifically put a damper on our rate of fire. Let's leave it at that. Now, some of you are like, NL, that metaphor made no sense. Some of you are like, wow, that was powerful. I don't say that to be braggadocious. Most of my metaphors are in a range from, okay, I kind of get it, to like, all right, I get it. That one, though, I'm like, wow, where did that come from? That was a beautifully constructed bit of narrative tapestry. Thank you, brain. I appreciate that one. Every once in a while, there's just a synchronicity there that you love to see. So, this floor. First off, remember, we want to do the little things right. How are we going to do that? Well, don't rush through this floor, because this is the pre-womb floor. This would be a good floor to grind out, if not as much as possible, you know, at least try to maybe get one more item from the shop. That would be somewhat big. Sorry, my brain got hijacked there for a minute. I was trying to think of, like, what if the movie Big with Tom Hanks was just called Somewhat Big? Like, how would that change it? Like, he gets, like, older, but not that much older, you know? He's like, he's talking to the fortune teller, and he's like, I want to be an adult. And then instead of being, like, 8 years old, I don't know, he's like 11 or something, I can't remember. Instead of being, like, 11 years old, they make him, like, 15. And he's like, what the... I don't think it would... I don't think the joke is good, for one. I also think that movie would not be as revered. You know, with the FAO Schwartz dance and piano stuff. I don't think so. Kind of a weird movie, thinking back, by the way. But we don't need to get into it. No. No. I was asked recently, by the way. Like, today. And now, what do you think the best Tom Hanks movie is? I will say, I really like Forrest Gump, but I think if I watched it now, I would probably reverse my opinion on that. So I'm choosing to let the memory of Forrest Gump in my mind be what moves forwards. Because I know that, like, when I saw Forrest Gump, you know, when I was, like, 12, I was like, this is the deepest movie ever. Hold on, we want to check this Deal with the Devil for certain. Well worth it, well worth it. But now I think I've been too irony-soaked too many times. So I'd be like, oh, and now he's in Vietnam. Okay, sure. Oh, so we're just expected to believe that he ran all the way across America? I'll believe it when I see it. What do these filmmakers expect us to be idiots? So I'm instead choosing to save myself from myself and just to have this crystal image in my head of Forrest Gump as like, what a nice feel-good movie. And I know that about myself because I watched The Terminal, which I think if I saw it when I was like 14, I would be like, this movie's kind of funny. I saw it when I was 31, and I was like, this is a piece of garbage. I'm sorry if you are a stan of The Terminal. I see you on Twitter all the time. Stan Thomas, Stan Thomas. Thomas Hanks. But, anyway. What do I think? I'll give you two answers, okay? Best Tom Hanks movie. Number one, Saving Private Ryan. Amazing movie. Tom Hanks is such an iconic actor that it is almost unbelievable that sometimes when I think about Saving Private Ryan, I go, oh yeah, Tom Hanks was in that. Every other movie with Tom Hanks, I go, you know, it's that Tom Hanks movie. You know, it's the one where he gets stuck on the island. It's the one where the other guy is the captain now. You know, it's the one where he lands the plane in the Hudson. You know, it's the one where he runs across America, etc., etc. But Saving Private Ryan, I'm like, it's the one with that opening, you know, Omaha Beach scene. Everyone goes, oh, and they go, who's in that? And I go, everybody. Every actor, every leading man, at least, that you now know was in either Saving Private Ryan or Band of Brothers. It's just science. My second answer, and I do not think this is an underrated movie, to be clear. I know it's extremely well-liked, but it is talked about, I think, slightly less than some of the other films in the Tom Hanks oeuvre, and that's Apollo 13. I think because it's a little on the older side, you know, it's like a 1995 jam, maybe. I feel like people kind of sleep on Apollo 13. It's also one of those movies where it got memed before memes even existed. Like, everybody knows. What's the line? Say the line. Houston, we have a problem. Did you know, in reality, he didn't say, Houston, we have a problem. Jim Lovell actually said, Houston, it looks like there's a problem up here. Nobody cares! Go home. The movie's good. That's why you got professional writers. You can take those moments in history that could have had gravitas for the general audiences, but instead, you know, it was an engineer who said the line and was probably like, holy crap, this is all messed up here. He wasn't thinking about making millions of people across planet Earth, you know, feel something with that line. The man was like, I got no oxygen, Houston. Work with me on it. It's amazing that his line wasn't like, Houston, what the heck? We got no air, dummies. Figure this out, you know? Anyway, I need to rewatch Apollo 13. It's been a long time. But Apollo 13 is legitimately, my memory of it is like, it's the slapper of all slappers. I also, and this is not uncommon for me and my demo for sure, I just love movies that take place in outer space. I honestly think if you set something in outer space, my odds of watching it, or choosing to watch it, let's say, legitimately go from like, well, I don't know, because I don't know what my odds of watching something on average are. Like, what are my odds of watching the average movie? I don't know, probably like 2%. You know, if you gave me the choice between like a movie not set in outer space, where people are like, it's pretty good, and a movie that was set in outer space that people were like, it's okay, I would go for the it's okay space movie over the it's pretty good Earth movie any day of the week. Like, even Ad Astra, I didn't really like it. But I was also like, man, thank God most of that movie took place in outer space. Imagine how bad it would have been if it took place on Earth. Space is just like, it's a plus like 25% modifier to my enjoyment of a movie. The Jake Gyllenhaal, Ryan Reynolds film, Life. Yeah, the one with the, it's not that good, but the ending rules. Yeah, that one. That movie is like a 6 out of 10. If you would put that in like, instead of like an alien, it was just like, oh, there's a, you know, some kind of creature that's been below the surface of the Earth, and you set it in like a mine shaft or something like that, it would be like a 1. Well, maybe. I don't know. Honestly, that sounds kind of cool. That sounds like The Descent. Anyway, what was I talking? I don't know. I've been talking about outer space. Just been talking about space things. Things I don't understand. I've probably said this before. One of the first jobs I wanted to have when I was a kid was an astronaut. I'm very glad I didn't pursue that for a couple of reasons. One of which is having that as your dream is hard. And I don't mean like, wow, it's hard work. I mean literally like, there's like 4 Canadian astronauts at any given time. So it's like, you know, if you set your goal like, I want to work for the space program, with hard work and dedication, that's a realistic goal, I think. You might have to sacrifice a lot. You know, it's a high demand job for sure. It's a job that a lot of people want to do. A lot of people are very interested in. But if you really grind and you work at it, definitely, you know, it's within reality. If my daughter, you know, is like, I want to be an astronaut, I'd be like, A, follow your dreams. Because it's ironic. That's really like if you shoot for the moon, even if you miss, you're gonna land amongst the stars. You need like 8 PhDs and to be like a world-class, you know, Navy pilot or something to even qualify. So, you know, go nuts. Even if it fails, it's gonna work out. But I would also, behind the scenes, I'd be like, maybe you'd be happy just being like a, you know, really respected pilot. It's just a hard job to get into. So there's one reason. The other reason is like, I think I'm fairly okay under pressure. We've seen you in Checkpoint League. That's not true. That's not what it is. That's fake danger. Sorry, I'm just had a little itch there for a second. I thought this guy was dead, honestly. In high pressure situations, I'm not one of those guys who's like, I thrive under pressure. But I do okay under pressure. But I still think just being in space would be like anxiety inducing at all times. And I don't think I would get over, like, let me put it this way. I think I would get over the fact that I was in space too quickly to justify all of the fears that would happen from being in space constantly. Like, I'm sure, like, the first couple of days, I would be like, oh, this is amazing. You know, it really gives you a new perspective on things when you look down on that pale blue dot and you realize that the sum total of human accomplishments, hopes, dreams, fears, wars, diseases, all took place on that little sphere down there. What's up with that? It really puts it in perspective. And then like a day later, I'd be like, Earth's cloudy today, huh? Womp womp. You know, I'd get over it, I think. So I don't think I'm cut out for the astronaut life is all I'm trying to say. Certainly not saying it's not a rewarding career, rather just I think my 3-year-old brain was like, space is cool. And I'm like, yeah, dude. You're not wrong. So here's what I came to as a compromise. What if we watched a lot of movies about space and then never went? I know you might be saying, NL, you really think you're never going to go to space? Yes. I'm still young. They may offer commercial space flights eventually. I'll never say never. But I will say, if they start offering commercial space flights, I'm not going to be like one of those dudes who's like, I've waited my whole life for this, get me on the first one. I respect those guys, the thrill seekers, the people who know what they want. I'll be one of those guys who's like, you know, I'm 55. Let's see how this shakes out for 5 years. And then, you know, at 60 maybe I'll give it a shot just to... Because then you got 5 years of... You have 5 years of safety records to look at and public audits and stuff. Anyway, you get the idea. I'm not an early adopter for that sort of stuff. Although I did fly 787 a lot in its infancy. Anyway, hey, thanks for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. We're still cruising along here at 57 wins in a row. What in the world? For now, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. See ya!